Okay, so Netivot Shalom, last parsha of Sefer Bereshit. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So time fly fast, right? So the parasha is ויחי Yaakov, right? So the topic is פקוד יפקוד אלוקים אתכם. So Yosef now toward the end, וישבע יוסף את בני ישראל לאמור, פקוד יפקוד השם, right? אלוקים אתכם, והעליתם את עצמותי מזה. So Yosef is telling בני ישראל, in the future, Hashem will remember you, and you please take my bones with you to Eretz Israel. And the Mefarshim, they ask about what is the pakod ifkod, like Hashem will remember. Also, we need to understand the main thing, right, with the בעצם עניין גאולת מצרים, שדרשו חז"ל מהפסוק ועברתי, that the redemption from Egypt was I myself will pass through Egypt. שלא על ידי מלאך ולא על ידי שרף, right? Not by a serpent, not by an angel, not by a messenger, but Hashem himself will do that. So what's that high level, that unique, special madrega, that the Hashem himself is going to redeem us? Because also the serpent and the angels are the messenger of Hashem, and we have halacha, right? Shilucho kemoto, like the one, if you send a messenger, you send somebody, it is if like you. Right? It's an extension of you. ויש לבאר עניין, so we need to explain that we found two אופנים of גאולה, and I know that we learned it before, but I want to repeat it. For me, it's good to keep repeating this thing. There are two types of גאולה, of redemption. בעיטה ואחישנה, on its time, and the fast track. So בעיטה, on its time, הוא הקץ הקבוע לגאולה, שאינו תלוי בהנהגתם של ישראל. So Hashem determined the redemption or the Geula, the salvation of the entire universe, right? On its time, he scheduled it. He put it in the calendar, and regardless if we're keeping Torah mitzvot, we're not keeping Torah mitzvot, whatever we do, when the time will come, there will be a redemption, period. שעל זה אמרו חז"ל, right? We learned last week parsha, ביקש יעקב לגלות את הקץ, ונסתלקה, right? So the Shekhinah, because Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal the end, the Shekhinah left him, so he couldn't reveal. So this is the first type of Geula. And then there is another type of Geula, which is Achishena, the fast track, the VIP, right? כאשר ישראל זוכים, when we have the merit, as it says in the Sanhedrin, זכו, if they have the merit, Achishena, לא זכו, בעיטה. If they have the merit, fast track. They don't have the merit, they need to wait. It says, והנה גאולת מצרים, but the redemption from Egypt, לא הייתה יכולה להיות על ידי בחינת אלו. It couldn't be, right, by בעיטה ובאחישנה. Why not? שעדיין לא הגיע הזמן של בעיטה, because it was not the time, right? They had 400 years to serve. They need to do the time, right? Hashem said 400 years. Yes, there are opinions saying that it's from the time, the year is starting to count from the time of Yitzchak was born, but they'll say, no. Literally from the time that they were in Egypt. So, we didn't serve the time yet. And also, they couldn't have the Achishana, the fast track, because שהיו בשפל המצב ביותר ומשוקעים במ"ט שערי טומאה. We're in the 49 level of Tuma, right? And the Midat Adin, the judgment, we're prosecuting, and we're reading it in the Agadah of Pesach, right? הללו והללו עובדי עבודה זרה. They are idol worshiper. Why are you helping them? Right? So they didn't have the merit. כן, לא היו רואים לגאולה של אחישנה. ומאידך בת, after all, אי אפשר היה להשאירם יותר בגלות. Hashem couldn't leave us in diaspora in Egypt. Why? Because we're in the 49 level, right? Two parashot ago, we talked about 70 righteous souls went down to Egypt. Yaakov Avinu and Banav, right? And so on. We needed to be there for 400 years. No time, because we couldn't wait for the time for the 400 years, because we're in the 49 level. And we didn't have the merit because they went down, right? Except the Leviim, but they were doing idols over there. And Hashem couldn't leave us over there because Chas v'Chalila, another step, and that's it, we are gone. We would fall into the Chas v'Chalila, the Sha'ar Anun, right? The 50, the gate of the 50. But there is no redemption from there. And therefore, Nitzrecha Geula liot b'chipazon. So we have the chipazon, right? We're reading also in the Agadah that it was in chipazon, like a rush. Because we couldn't postpone it or wait. Therefore, we couldn't have the Geulah by the order on the protocol. And it is if like they have to get the redemption from a higher place, from a different place. And it's the same thing as it says in Torah Avot, on the Parsha Vayechi, and from the Sama Kadosh Mislonim, it says, Bigmar HaChatima B'Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, when we have the seal, the stamp on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, he said that there is a Seder Hanaga, a ruling, that according to that, all the things are going accordingly by time in order. And that ruling, that behaving, Hanhaga, is determined in Rosh Hashanah. So somebody, Chas v'Chalila, can have some kind of a decree, but Hashem, that is the source of the good and the mercy, right? He can rule and he can override. He can do whatever he wants, right? As Mel Brooks used to say, it's good to be the king. Hashem is the king, he can do whatever he wants. Bechinat Rachmei Shamayim Rubim, like lots of mercy from heaven. And according to that, that was the redemption from Egypt. Shalpi Seder Hanaga, right? According to what schedule, what determined, what was booked, it was impossible to redeem us. Okay. Yesh lomar, and we can say even more. Derech mashal, an analogy. So the king is sitting on the throne, right? Dressed as a king. Maybe some brand name, I don't know, like a silk clothing, whatever name is the designer, very fancy. And suddenly he sees through the window that his son is falling into a pit, a gutter or whatever. So he said, so now the king needs to call somebody that will ask somebody that will open a ticket, that will ask somebody to go and tell another one to go and save the boy, right? There's no time to do that. So what the king is doing, jumping from the throne, running, jumping into the pit with the sewage, with the clothing and everything, and pull up his son, saving his son. So there is no time to wait. And this is what Hashem did, exactly in Egypt. And that's why we can understand now the first question, why it was so important that Hashem himself redeemed us from Egypt and not by a serpent or an angel. Because there was no time, Hashem needed to do it. We are his firstborn. Because the angel, they really don't see the time of the danger where we were. Only Hashem. And that's also in hint in the Kol Dodi Nemes Daba Medaleg Alarim, right? In Shir HaShirim, with like that the voice or the sound or my Dodi, which is basically the Shechina, is skipping the mountain, jumping on the mountain, which is Bechinat Dilug, Mitoch Chachmei Shamayim. So he said indeed, Kol HaItorerut, all this waking up from above, from Shamayim, were needed in order for us to have that was the part of the preparation of Itaruta Diltata, the awakening from here. And the Itarut right, we learned that we have Itorerut Dil'ela, Itarut Diltata. Like the trigger is from above, from Shamayim, or the trigger is here, from this world. From Shamayim, it's a freebie, it's a gift. From here, we need to work for it. So that type of redemption, of itorerut, of waking up, that was from heaven, was a part of the preparation for us to be able to start and do it from here. And that's the Bechinat Dilug, the skipping, is the faith that we have, that the Jew has in this Hanhaga, that we believe, we have the faith in Ahavat Hashem Lisel, that Hashem loves us, with no boundaries, no limitation. And we have the faith that Hashem is Atov, Ki Lo Chalu Rachama, because his mercy didn't stop. And he wants to do good to us. And by having this type of faith, then we're withdrawing, we're pulling on us from heaven the Anhaga Elyona, that Hashem really is going to show us that. And but that Emuna, with the merit of that, our fathers, right, we actually were redeemed from Egypt, from that schut of the Emuna. That was the only thing. Vayesh lomar b'zeh, right, what Moshe was said when Hashem later on will appear to Moshe in the burning bush, and Moshe said, they're not going to believe me. Why? Because we know that the redemption is supposed to be 400 years. Everybody knew the prophet. Everybody knew what Hashem told Avraham in Brit Ben Abetarim. So when Moshe came, before that, he was concerned, because he said, Hashem, everybody know that we need to be 400 years. It's barely 210 years. I'm going to say, I came to I'm a messenger for Hashem to redeem you. Everybody will say, you're crazy. He's crazy. We still have 200 years almost to serve. Who is this guy? Where is he coming from? He's a conspirator. Right? So Hashem asked Hashem, they're not going to believe me? But it says, it's like a question. He doesn't know the value of the nation that my sons are ma'aminim bnei ma'aminim. How can he say that? But what he means, he says, to the faith in the Anaga Eliona that Hashem have is the source of Rachamim, which is Lemala Mikol Seder, which is, again, he can change the protocol. And certainly they believe in Hashem. But they didn't know that really Hashem can really change everything, because they were such a lower level that they were like doing idols like the Egyptians. And that's why Moshe said, they're not going to believe me, because they know how low they are, and they will be sure that they need to wait. But Hashem pakad et bnei Israel, but the Hashem remember us, and he saw our poverty, right? Spiritual poverty, right? And then they will believe it. And this is the Pkida Eliona, the memory coming from above, from Hashem, from Hashem. And according to that, now it's going to explain more what it says that Akadosh Baruch Hu asher shalach biad Moshe Paro, when Hashem sent Moshe to Pharaoh, and he told him, right, told Pharaoh that Hashem saying, right, to Moshe, Bnei Bechor Israel, my firstborn Israel, and he told you, right, Shlach et Banai, send my son, and they're going to worship me on that mountain, etc. If you're not going to send Bnei Israel, I'm going to kill your firstborn, right? Mida keneged mida. So he said that tzarich birur, we need to explain why it was so important to Hashem to tell Moshe, to tell Pharaoh that we are his firstborn. So he says, Kol takifuto shel Pharaoh. Pharaoh stubbornness came from the fact that he also knew that the redemption of the Bnei Israel is depending in one of the conditions. If they have the merit or a fast track. And he knew that, okay, the redemption is not coming. Everybody knew the prophecy for 400 years. So that's why he was telling to Moshe, what do you want from me? Who are you? Crazy guy. Crazy guy. Where are you coming with this knowledge, with this information? And therefore Hashem sent Moshe to say, no, my firstborn, Bnei Israel, the protocol, the laws, the order are related to the slaves of the king. But we are the son of the king. And therefore, it's a different type of ruling. Right? And another way, another thing about my firstborn Israel, that was an answer for the prosecutor from the judgment, right? When the prosecutor go to Hashem and say, they're doing idols and they're doing idols, no difference. So he said, right, what we learned later on in Bamidbar, when Bil'am is talking about, right, you want to curse, but he's giving like some kind of a prophecy and blessing. He says, Lo ibit aven beYaakov velo rama b'Yisrael. Hashem elokav imo utvat melech bo. Like Hashem is overlooking the sins. So he said, it's a kasher, right? It's a kasher, it's a question. What's relate, Lo ibit aven beYaakov? Because Are'id din ve'id dayan, there is a judge and there is a judgment. Everything will go into the trial. So how is it possible that Hashem will overlook? And anyone that says, Kol ha'omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu vatran, like he will give up, yivatru me'av, like his guts will be cut. It's like you can play with the Hebrew word, that vatran is also to levater, it's to cut. But Hashem is with us. And that's why I said, firstborn, Hashem is not really overlooking, but when you love somebody, then what he's doing to you, you're overlooking that. You don't consider that much. And also when we sin chas v'chalila, he said and the evil inclination is in its guts burning, still the heart doesn't feel right. It's not like really enjoying it and wants to do it again. Chas v'chalila, a Jew is sinning and he said, wow, I don't know why I couldn't stop myself, but I don't want to do it. But I couldn't hold myself. I don't want to do it again. Right? So even in the time of the sin, Hashem with him, he still remember. And therefore Bilam said, Lo ibit aven beYaakov velo rama al b'Yisrael, כי אני ידעתי את מחשבות, right? That he know the thought that we have. And when he sent again to Pharaoh to say, Bini Bechor Israel, he said, Dalecha, you should know that my son, they are not slaves, but he's my firstborn. And when he's doing his sin, Chatz v'Chalila, his heart is ripped. And therefore, there is no question, like the prosecutor is asking and saying, they are doing idols and do idols. Yeah, they are doing idols in all their hearts and because they want to do it. But we, Chas v'Chalila, we do because of the environment, peer pressure, this is what they were doing, whatever reason is. But that was not in our core. And he says in the same way that this is the redemption of the klal, of the nation, this is also the redemption of an individual, of each Jew. That we, Chas v'Chalila, are sink in the lower level, and it looks like we don't have a way to get out, right? And it doesn't feel that is appropriate, that is like this, that Hashem deserves him, right? That we are deserved to have Hashem, and that Hashem will redeem him, right? On a personal level. So said the advice is to have faith in the Hanaga Elyona, and that Hashem loves us, because Lo Chalu Rachamav, Hashem mercy never stop, even for individual. And therefore, the evil inclination is even trying harder and harder to plant in our brain that Chas v'Chalila, we're no good, Hashem gave up on us, etc., etc. But it's not. It's not. It's definitely not. So when we are in exile, when in diaspora, we are asking Hashem, right? Please have mercy on me and redeem me. How? Waking my heart to love you. And then we will have that faith, that tiny little faith. That will be the spark, the enough spark for us, really, for Hashem to redeem that. And according to that, he says on the time of the Shovavim, right? So now we starting Sefer Shmot, right? It says this is actually the time, the period of tikkunim, of fixing. And the big fix, right? The main fix itself is Shabbos. And from the strength of the Shabbat, from the power of the Shabbat, we can extract from all the lower levels, especially in the time of the Shovavim. V'yesh lomar hatam, we need to say the reason why. Because it says in the Zohar HaKadosh that on the blemishes of Binyanei Brit Kodesh, right, wasting sperm, he said the regular tshuva is not good enough. According to the reasonable things that we can do or in our power, it's not good enough. But we just learned that there is an Haga Elyona, right? Like divine ruling, which is above what is determined, scheduled, the protocol, etc. Yes? Al kol pshaim techase ava. So all the crime that love will cover or will overlook. In our work, Avodah Shel Yehudi, is to bring this type of ruling and to believe, really simply to believe that Hashem and to feel that Hashem loves us, even if we don't see, but we know definitely, and to have the trust that there are some kind of forces that can change the order of nature, and Hashem can take us out. And it doesn't say here, but look at Yosef. The time that he was in Egypt, own brother wanted to kill him, they're throwing into the pit. Snakes and scorpion did him harm. Was sold, by the way, with a very cheap price because he was very scared, so his face twisted because of the snakes when he was in the pit. So they couldn't charge a lot for him because he was beautiful, but now he became ugly. So they needed to sell him in a cheap price. So not only that you were sold to be a slave, but even like a lower level slave. And then he got to Egypt, and then he became number one in the house of Potiphar, and then she tried to be with him, and then he was thrown into jail, into pit, and then another extra 2 years, and then suddenly they rush him out. So you can see it's like a roller coaster, like with not really much of a preparation. It's like, right, it's not a cliche that he can go down very quickly and fly up very quickly. This is how Hashem ruling the world. He can change many things in seconds. But he says, and this is what we need to have the faith and the belief that Hashem can take us out, extract us from all the severe blemishes that we sink in. And therefore, the main tikkun is on Shabbos, because that's the day of cleaving to Hashem. And we can feel they have the feel of the love of Hashem, and especially in these Shabbases in the Tkufa of the Shovavim, Shmot, right, and the Parshiot, which is all the Parshiot of the exile and the redemption from Egypt, and receiving the Torah. So again, you can see the roller coaster, going down to Egypt, being a slave, redeemed, we are on the horse, getting the Torah, the sin of the golden calf, and then this, and then that, right? And it says that Yetziat Mitzrayim was in the context of Dilug, skipping, right? Keman dekatuv, medaleg al ha'arim. But these are all the mountains that actually try to prevent our redemption, but Hashem was skipping on them, right? That's the thing. From the strength, from the emunah, from the faith, what ve'amen ha'am ve'yishmeu ki pakad Hashem bnei Israel. And this is how we started. V'chera et onyam. We started with pakod ifkod otchem Hashem. That Moshe, not Moshe, sorry, Yosef, he was like swearing, the bnei Israel said, now you have good life. Later on, probably not. But don't worry. Later on in the future, Hashem is going to remember you. Hashem is going to redeem you. Hashem is going to take you out from Egypt. You should have the faith. Please do not forget to take me with you. Right? Don't forget. And that's the short, that's the main word, not to forget. Thank you for listening. Have a great Shabbos.